The Senate would come to order.
The guy who's supposed to do the prayer just got here.
Senator Rivera.
Thank you, Madam President. Welcome everybody to the Senate chambers, and if you join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Majors, would you please take the roll?
Aguilar, Balmer, Baumgartner,
Excused.
Brophy, Brophy,
Absent.
Cadman, Crowder, Grantham, Guzman, Harvey, Heath, Herpin, Hill, Hodge, John, Johnston, Jones,
Absent.
Kefalis, Kerr, King, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Newell, Nicholson, Renfro, Rivera, Roberts, Scheffel, Schwartz, Stedman, Tocktrop, Todd, Ulibarri, Zenzinger, Brophy, Madam President.
Here. With 33 present, 1 absent, and 1 excused, the Senate has a quorum.
Good morning, Madam President. Good morning, colleagues.
Motion to adopt the journal, Senator Todd. Good morning.
Jump the gun here. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Madam President. I move the reading of the journal of April 3rd be dispensed with, and the journal be approved as corrected by our lovely Cindy Markwell, Secretary of the Senate.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Senate Services.
April 4th, 2014, correctly printed, Senate Bill 180, correctly engrossed, Senate Bills 153 and 169, correctly revised, House Bills 1282, 1308, 1336, 1337, 1340, 1341, and 1342.
Introduction of resolutions. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 26?
Senate Joint Resolution 26 by Senators Zenzinger and Kerr and Representatives Peniston and Duran concerning the designation of April 8th, 2014 as Equal Pay Day in Colorado and in connection therewith acknowledging the persisting problem of wage disparity among various groups.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that Senate Joint Resolution 26 lay over until Tuesday, April 8th.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Senate Joint Resolution 26 will lay over until April 8th. Introduction of bills.
Senate Bill 181 by Senators Renfro and Guzman and Representatives Ferrandino and Humphrey concerning the elimination of the use of automated vehicle identification systems for traffic law enforcement.
State Veterans and Military Affairs.
House Bill 1314 by Representative Pedersen and Senator Kerr concerning cooperation between school districts and charter schools on ballot questions to authorize additional local revenues.
Education.
House Bill 1345 by Representative Giroux and Senator Lambert concerning authority for the Department of Higher Education to transfer monies allocated to the governing board of an institution of higher education between the governing board's appropriation for its fee-for-service contracts and the governing board's spending authority for college opportunity stipends as a result of increases or decreases in student enrollment at the institution of higher education.
Education. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege for Senator Roberts.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We'll proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege for Senator Roberts. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I ask for your attention. I've got a tribute here in memory of Tribal Chairman Jimmy R. Newton, Jr. He was the tribal chairman of the Southern Ute Indian tribe, and he passed away earlier this week. I just wanted to briefly read to you the tribute. It says, "We memorialize and honor Chairman Newton for his achievements in politics and as an advocate for the Southern Ute Indian tribe. At age 26, Chairman Newton became one of the youngest tribal members on the Southern Ute Tribal Council, and in 2012, he was elected chairman of the council. He was a strong voice for his tribe, championing for critical tribal projects, such as the Pine River Indian Irrigation Project. Outside the council, Chairman Newton was actively involved in Southern Ute culture, including singing at powwows and participating in cultural ceremonies. Chairman Newton's advocacy and dedication to cultural involvement serve as an inspiration to current and future generations. Colorado will mourn the loss of a great man devoted to his tribe, state, and nation." Thank you, members. Chairman Newton's funeral is today in Ignacio. Obviously, I can't be in two places at once, but I hope we could maybe take a moment of silence just to keep him and his family in your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we're going to do it after.
Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Please add Senator Jones to the roll call. Mr. Majors, would you please read the titles to the bills on third reading consent calendar?
House Bill 1282 by Representative Pabon and Senator Talk Tribe concerning the specification of what materials may be provided in language other than English by an insurer to a customer. Senate Bill 169 by Senator Lambert and Representative May concerning the information that the Office of Information Technology is required to provide to certain members of the General Assembly in connection with its annual budget requests. House Bill 1308 by Representative Giroux and Senator Stedman concerning procedures for a department to vary in appropriation.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the adoption of all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes House Bills 1282, Senate Bill 169, and House Bill 1308.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills on third reading consent? Senator Marble.
Thank you, Madam President. I wish to be a no on House Bill 1308.
1308? Mr. Majority Leader.
Can I ask the good senator if that's an April Fool joke, or are we beyond that? Apparently not, Madam President.
Okay, so seeing no further discussion, are there any no votes other than the one just indicated on any of the bills on third reading consent? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1282 is adopted. Co-sponsors. With 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 169 is adopted. Co-sponsors. With 33 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1308 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Lambert. Where's, there we have it. Third reading of Bill's calendar. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1341?
House Bill 1341 by Representative May and Senator Stedman concerning a transfer of monies from the State General Fund to the Department of State Cash Fund for the purpose of repaying a prior transfer.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1341 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Question before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1341. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1341 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Aguilar. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 153?
Senate Bill 153 by Senators Heath and Cadman, Representatives Del Grosso and Hollinghorst concerning compensation of members of the General Assembly appointed to do and serving on state entities and in connection therewith making and reducing appropriations.
Senator, Mr. Majority Leader. Whichever of you.
Thank you, President Carroll. We move Senate Bill 153 on third and final passage.
Any discussion? Question before the body is the adoption of Senate Bill 153. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 153 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Stedman, Senator Tocktrop, Senator Lambert, Senator Aguilar, Senator Todd, Senator Newell, Senator Nicholson, Senator Schwartz, Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1340?
House Bill 1340 by Representative Giroux and Senator Lambert concerning the State Toxicology Laboratory and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1340 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any discussion? Question before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1340. Are there any no votes? Senators Marble, Crowder, Lundberg, Harvey, Hill, Brophy, Renfro. With 27 ayes, 7 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1340 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Newell, Nicholson, Aguilar, Mr. Majority Leader. Senators King, Schwartz, Zenzinger, Todd, Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1342?
House Bill 1342 by Representative Duran and Senator Stedman concerning transfers of monies related to capital construction.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1342 on third reading and final passage.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you. I also ask for an aye vote on 1342.
Any discussion? Question for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1342. Are there any no votes? Senator Stedman. With 33 and Senator Hill. Senator Newell. These are no votes on House Bill 1342. With 31 ayes, 3 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1342 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senators Schwartz, Todd, Majority Leader Heath, Senator John. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1337?
House Bill 1337 by Representatives Duran and Giroux and Senator Stedman concerning an increase in the general fund reserve.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1337 on third reading and final passage.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you. I'll also ask for an aye vote on 1337.
Any discussion? Question for the body is the adoption of House Bill 1337. Are there any no votes? Senator Crowder. Senator Harvey. Not Senator Harvey. is not a no. With 33 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1337 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senators Lundberg, Rivera, Balmer, Kafalis, Nicholson, Aguilar, Marble, Herpin, Brophy, Hill, Zenzinger, John, Kerr, Tocktrop, King, Roberts. Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Todd, Schwartz, Johnston, Grantham, Sheffel, Newell, Mr. Minority Leader. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1336?
House Bill 1336 by Representative Duran and Senator Stedman concerning the provision for payment of the expenses of the executive, legislative, and judicial departments of the state of Colorado and of its agencies and institutions for and during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014, except as otherwise noted.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Bill 1336 on third reading and final passage. And before we maybe discuss the bill or vote on the bill, I would like to just take a moment to acknowledge first my colleagues from the Joint Budget Committee for all of your hard work and collaboration this year. We've worked really well together, and I'm really pleased with the product that we've produced and that we've got it to this point. We've got a little bit further to go next week, but I think we're in pretty good shape, and I know the three of us at least are up to the task, and we appreciate all the support from the rest of the body. Also here this morning, we've invited quite a few members of the Joint Budget Committee staff, because the three of us and our counterparts in the House, we don't do this alone. We rely a great deal on the hard work and expertise of our Joint Budget Committee staff. They are the ones that make us look smart and make this look easy. They have put in some very long hours preparing the long bill and the state budget bill to get it to this point. And you know, as we were over here marking up the bill and amending it, the House Appropriations Committee has been cranking through quite a few other bills that are pending as well that the JBC staff also has to work on the fiscal analysis for. So this is a very, very busy time for them. I'm sure they probably have better things to do than to sit here and be acknowledged by us, but we did want to take this opportunity just to let you all know how much you're appreciated, how much we value your work and rely on you, and this accomplishment of producing an annual budget is as much a victory for you as it is for us. Thank you very much. We appreciate all that you do.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you. For this part of the process, for today, I asked for an aye vote on 1336, and I also would like to acknowledge my colleagues on the Joint Budget Committee, and especially our Joint Budget Committee staff and Director John Ziegler is actually hiding behind the cabinet back there, but we've got a great team over there, the best sausage makers in the world.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I too would like to commend the Joint Budget Committee for their tireless efforts. Well, maybe you're tired quite often as well, because through the years, you know, it's that one committee you hope you never get on because you'll never get off, it seems. But they have worked hard, and the staff has done a great deal of work, and I certainly recognize that and commend their efforts in many ways. But let me tell you why I'm going to vote no. Because the 69th General Assembly is the most liberal assembly I've ever seen in my lifetime. Because when I review all that has been accomplished, and this budget enables that, I cannot endorse that overall effort. Now, we're not through the process entirely, and so I'll certainly grant that there's a space for some to stand up and say, well, I'm still supporting the bill in its current form in some ways, but for myself, when I look at everything that has occurred, and primary to all of this, and a big, big chunk of the budget, and I believe a bigger and bigger chunk of the future budgets, is the enabling of Obamacare. That, I could name a lot of other things too, but if I were to zero down and say, what is the problem? That is the problem, and Colorado has led in that effort, and led in that effort. And this budget, unfortunately, contains far too much that empowers that takeover of the American economy, and the economy here in Colorado, and the people's liberty and ability to find good solutions for their medical needs. I wish it wasn't so, because there are some reasons that I've seen some progress in some areas of public policy, but when I look at the whole picture, it's the wrong direction. We're on the wrong road. And so I am a no vote.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, the budget is probably the most fun you'll ever have until the conference committee completes their work. I think how many times do we talk about what next week is going to be like? And I think one of the JBC members said, yeah, and I hope it's not 2 weeks of conference committee. We had shared earlier in the session that we had hoped to accomplish some things in this year's budget, and it did. We wanted to increase the reserve, and it does. We wanted to rebuild infrastructure, and it does. And we support those things. Are there things in it that we don't like? Of course. Anybody like everything in the budget? If you do, then maybe you should serve on the Joint Budget Committee. But we don't have the luxury of line item vetoing the things in the budget that we don't like. It doesn't come to us like that. It comes to us in one really big package. So for me, it's easier to support something that frankly encapsulates the concepts that we shared earlier that we would be supportive of. For now, I'm supporting it. For now, I'm supporting it. So as we send this budget across to the conference committee, that they understand what will bring some of our support to the budget. Maybe not all, probably not all. But I think some of us can support this because it does the things that we said we wanted it to do. We took a major first step, frankly, to the hard work over a couple years now of our colleagues across the aisle on the firefighter situation here and the fleet. Great work. What a great accomplishment for all of us. So I think with that, it's important that we send the message to our less experienced and on some days perhaps less wise colleagues across the building that will be working on this joint conference committee as well, and let them know that what we're interested in supporting is something that's overall good for Colorado, though not every part of it, every one of us is going to agree on. That doesn't happen in real life. That doesn't even happen at home. So with that, I'm going to be a yes vote today.
Senator Brophy.
Thank you, Madam President. And a couple of observations here. It's often said that a budget reflects the priorities of the people participating in the budgeting process. Well, let's examine the record. Over the last 4 years, the budgets represented by this body and the previous bodies has increased funding for the expansion of Obamacare by some 87%. And at the same time, funding for one of the most important core functions of government, education, specifically our K-12 education system, has gone up a mere 4%, while our student count has gone up a smidgen over 4%. In other words, For the last 4 years, we have been depriving the kids in our K-12 system of the resources that they need to ensure a bright future in return for expanding funding for Obamacare. To me, that represents a failure on behalf of the majority party, and I will be a no vote on this budget.
Further discussion? Senator Aguilar.
I just want to clarify that I am supporting this budget, but there is no increase that we've had because of Obamacare. In 2009, the legislature voted to pass the hospital provider fee and to expand access to care for our children and for our adults who lived in poverty. And that is the expansion that has occurred up until now, and that had nothing to do with the Affordable Care Act.
Question before the body is Senator Renfro.
Thank you, Madam President. I talked a little yesterday on one of the amendments of my reflection on this budget. There's several of us in here that are term limited, as what will happen to a majority of us. Well, maybe some of us, not all of us, but that does happen down here. And so I went back and I was looking at the budget from 8 years ago, the first one that I was part of participating and debating on. And it kind of goes to the points the senator from Ray, the good senator from Ray, talked about, that is a disappointment to me looking back over 8 years of budgets. You could go over the last 4 and say 4% increase to education. Well, let's go back over time and even look a little more. General fund to education in the 07-08 budget was about $3 billion. Today it's 3.35. So $355 million increase of general fund dollars. Healthcare policy and finance. Back in that budget, the general fund was about $1.4 billion. Today, it's $2.25 billion. You could go down the list of other departments of growth. Some have stayed flat, and we've had to. You look at higher education. What have we done there? It was $659 million this year. It was $750 million in the first budget when I came in. I know we had tough times and we had things we've had to cut through the years. We've had some very tough budgets. But we've also had years that we had a lot of money to spend. And I can remember being down here and talking about rainy day funds and about savings and about things we should do to prepare for those days. And obviously, I was in the minority on those votes. And that's what brings us to where we are today. You look overall at this budget. General fund dollars in that 07-08 was $7.2 billion. Today it's $8.6, $8.7 billion. The budget overall was $17.1 billion back then. Today it's almost $24 billion. But yet, where are the priorities? It's not education, it's not higher education, it's other programs. It's not transportation, it's other programs. It's other priorities, even though we hear in the paper, we talk about it all the time, of things we need to do for our kids, for our jobs, our growth, our economy, but yet we pass budgets every year that show different priorities than our rhetoric. And that's why I'll be a no vote on this budget.
Majority Leader Heath.
Thank you, Madam President. And I'm going to be proud to vote yes on this budget as well. I didn't in the past for the simple reason of education. And I can't just say I'll vote yes without making some comments based on the comments that were just made. The fact of the matter is that education, whether it's K-12 or higher ed, but combined, are just under 50% of the general fund that we in this body have to work with. As you know, the total budget of some $20-some billion is not what this body really has to work with. It's only the general fund dollars. And of that, we put almost half of what we're doing into this. Is it enough for education? And the answer is no. And I'm standing up here really literally shaking because I'm the oldest member of this body, and the only reason, frankly, I'm here is because of education. And I think everybody in this room knows that. And in 2009, I had the privilege of co-chairing a commission to look at the long-term fiscal status of this state. And out of that, we asked the University of Denver at that time, it's now been taken over by CSU, to look at the long-term financial stability of the state, particularly in light of Tabor and Gallagher. And what did it conclude? It concluded that no matter what this state did financially and economically, the only three things that we would be able to fund going forward if we did nothing in terms of raising revenue was K-12, not higher ed, corrections, and Medicaid. That's it. No mental health, no safety network, no higher ed, none of that. As a result, I felt strongly enough about it to run Proposition 103 in 2011. And as far as I remember, there was absolutely no support for that from the other side. And last year we ran Amendment 66 because we felt strongly, as you said, as we said, that we needed to support education. And colleagues, the only way we're going to do that, if you believe the DU study and if you believe the reaffirmation of that study by CSU, is to raise revenue. Whether we're talking education or transportation, which is not part of the general fund budget, as we all know. And we just had that conversation as well. Not we as this body, but certainly outside of this body in terms of all of the transportation interests, who in fact floated an idea of raising the state sales tax to support transportation, because we know we're not funding transportation either. So to stand up here and say we do not have a commitment to education burns me up. And I resent that. And we all should resent it, because this body, this state, has got to recommit to education at all levels. And we need to ask every member of this state to get behind us and support that, because we are not doing right by our kids. And we cannot do right by our kids within the confines of this budget. So I would ask all of you to recommit to figuring this out, this dilemma out that we have gotten ourselves into, which, if you believe the DU and CSU study, can only be addressed by raising funds and by reinvesting in our kids. That's the only way out of this. I am pleased that it appears we have a compromise on the School Finance Act and the Student Success Act, and we are making a real commitment to that. but it is a token commitment in terms of dealing with the ultimate issue that we have. I'm proud of this body in terms of what we've done within the confines of this budget that we have to work with. And we have reached across the aisle in many, many ways, and we're going to continue to do that the rest of this session. But understand that if the only way we're going to solve the education issue and the transportation issue is to go out and make a case to the citizens of this state that we need to start reinvesting again. Because the ultimate consequences of not doing that are very, very clear in front, at least of my eyes, and I would hope the majority of our eyes. I'm going to vote yes in this budget. But understand that in the long run, we have got to step out of the confines of what we have in front of us and make a case to the citizens of this state that we need to start reinvesting, certainly in transportation, certainly in education at all levels, if we ever are going to get out from under the circumstances that we find ourselves. I'm going to congratulate everybody for coming together on this budget. I think we've done a great job. But that is not the task in front of us. We have a totally different task. Thank you.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today in support of the budget and want to echo some of the comments I heard from both the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate Minority Leader, that what we have before us is not a perfect bill by any stretch. It looks to move us forward and invest in the priorities that we share as Coloradans. And I wanted to just stand up today because I got to sit in the chair yesterday during debate, and I was incredibly proud of all of the members here. I felt like we engaged in a respectful debate, and there were points where we disagreed, and we didn't do it disagreeably. We may have come together on some issues like a wildfire fleet and making sure that we can protect our waterways and ensuring that we can move forward our state protecting public safety. We've made critical investments in education and other support services that exist to move Colorado forward. Is the budget perfect? No. But I think what we did yesterday and what we're doing right now shows that we can do better when we come together and talk and debate, engage, and I'm really proud of how things unfolded yesterday and today. We're making critical investments in capital construction projects across the state of Colorado to ensure that students aren't being forced to pay additional fees. I think that's a good thing. The other piece I wanted to mention is, as a junior member of the Senate, I haven't had the opportunity down here as many of you have for many, many years, but I have experienced our economy from the outside of this building, and I think where we're at today is a much better place. 6 years ago, we went through the worst recession this country has ever seen since the Great Depression, and together, both sides of this aisle, we've been recovering. Folks in my generation returned from war, came back to a bleak job market. They didn't have many opportunities. They were struggling with high costs of childcare, limited workforce options. And what we've done together as a state of Colorado has to rebuild side by side. Budget's not perfect, but it gets us close. We still have a lot of work to do. 1 out of every 5 kids in the state of Colorado live in deep poverty. So for a family of 4, that's about $17,000 a year. That's not just in Adams County, that's down in the southwest corner of our state. It's on the western slope and the eastern plains. We still have a lot of work to do to make sure that opportunity exists for the next generation. And I'm proud to do that work with all of you in this chamber.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Madam President. When I came down here for the first, and I'm of course here for my final time to discuss, I simply took one example of why I think we're not up to snuff yet and why I'm a no vote on this bill, this budget for this year. And there I discussed our support of Obamacare and the multiple bills that have gone into building that system into Colorado law and practice. But the subject of education has come up, and a statement was made that I must deeply disagree with, and that is really is more than a statement. It was a perspective, and that is that if education is going to move forward, it's up to the state of Colorado to move it forward. And that's not entirely accurate. Neither is it accurate that the only way we can address it is by taking more money out of the Colorado taxpayer, because that's the only way we raise revenue, is we take more money from the taxpayer. I'm of the opinion that the taxpayer pays too much, that the government has taken over too much of the economy at every level, at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level. Education is a very, very big need for a healthy, growing society. I don't disagree with that at all. But this concept that the government has to do it all is that big government concept that I totally reject. And I do it on both a philosophical and a practical level, and that's what I want to discuss for just a few minutes here. Because education doesn't just happen because government dollars pour into the funnel. In the state of Colorado, if you want to look at K through 12 education, there are three basic formats. One is public education, which is by far the biggest component. But that's largely because the government forces the taxpayer to underwrite all of it and forces the parent who wants to choose one of the other two options to first underwrite the public side and then to go above and beyond if they see that for their children or particular children of theirs that a private school or a home school is the better environment. And we have brought before this body time and time again educational tax credits and other options that empower parents to find those options. And those options do not cost the state. They actually are capable of generating more dollars available on a per pupil basis. But somehow there's this concept that only the state can provide the educational solutions for the people of Colorado. And my practical experience is the home schools and the private schools do a better job. Why? Well, because there are competitive free market dynamics involved. It's kind of simple. It works that way in medicine as well, and that's why I so totally reject the Obamacare model. Now, when we look at the budget, we're looking at the whole package of policy for the state of Colorado, or at least the state government side of it. And therefore, I welcome the opportunity to have these debates and discussions on, so what should we be doing and how should we be doing it? At the bare minimum, I want to assure you that this attitude that we just need to get more money out of the taxpayer in order to address the problem isn't the only road you can go down. And these are options that I and other members have put before this body, and they've been rejected again and again. I'd like us to get serious with the solutions and look across the entire spectrum and take this attitude. Let's empower the people, the citizen first, rather than grow the government. Let's allow the citizens and the families in the state of Colorado flourish by not insisting they carry more tax burden, be they taxes or fees or crushing regulations. I'd like to see a budget that actually holds the line, that grows less than the state of Colorado is growing. As a matter of fact, the state of Colorado will flourish if we'll take that attitude. And long term, that's what I'm looking for in a budget. Those are the priorities that really count and are positive. Thank you.
Senator Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to talk about priorities and bipartisanship today. When I look at this budget and when I look at where we started this year, we've met our priorities. Jobs, advanced industries, clean tech, we've met that. Schools, we've started to dig out of the hole we created for K through 12. I wish we could do some more. But giving young people of every economic stripe the opportunity to get ahead, that's a fundamental thing in our country, and I support that wholeheartedly. The fact that we're finally putting some money back into higher education, they got caught more than K through 12 during the downturn. We call it a downturn. It was a lot more than that. It was the closest thing to a depression in my lifetime. Thirdly, environment. We've done good things, and a lot of times these don't pop up because they're in the budget already, and we're working on things at the Health Department and Department of Natural Resources, that kind of thing, helping with oil and gas and getting inspectors out there. And then finally, disaster relief, flood, fire. I am very appreciative of the support of this body and the whole legislature for people who've been adversely affected by the floods. I was at former President Schaefer's house about a week ago, and his basement's still not finished. That's the way it is in Longmont right now. He had about 8 foot of water in his basement, you might know. But these are everybody's lives, and the Schaefers will come out of this strong. But there are a lot of people that are in a lot harder place to be, and we still need to be meeting that, and I appreciate your support in doing that. And then the fire, of course, and that gets into the bipartisanship. I think watching this debate yesterday, I was proud of this place. This is my 10th budget. When you have more money, you fight more. There is no doubt about it. And we had our disagreements today, but everybody was respectful. And we worked through those issues, and the Joint Budget Committee set us up to meet a lot of those goals, to have that conversation, and to meet the priorities I spoke about. And I appreciate that too from those members. But I think we did this place proud yesterday. Yeah, I didn't like some of the outcomes. I still don't. But it's a big bill. And there are a lot of priorities. And I think this is a positive step forward on education, jobs, flood recovery, environment, and put together. I'm proudly going to co-sponsor the bill because we've done that kind of work. And I just want to say to both sides of the aisle how much I appreciate everybody behaving the way you did. I think we set a good example in a time when people don't have a whole lot of faith in people in politics. So thanks very much, and proud to be part of this.
Senator Stedman.
Thank you, Madam President, and colleagues, thank you for your words this morning for and against this bill. I think the participation we've all had in the budget this year has been a little refreshing because, at least from my perspective, it feels like you've all been much more engaged in this, and maybe that's made our jobs a little more difficult or frustrating at times, but I think we have a better product for it. You know, it's a funny process bringing this bill to the floor. The three of us on the Budget Committee and our three counterparts from the House of Representatives, you know, we spend months down in the weeds, going through the details and all the line items, working with the departments, grilling them a little, pushing them a little, expecting answers and expecting accountability from the other branches of government as we exercise our power of appropriation, the power of the purse, to make sure that the government we have is the government that the people want and need. And I think we've produced a budget this year that meets those goals. It's funny how when we bring the budget to the floor, we end up focusing on just a couple trees in the forest. Yesterday, of course, you know, the debate about our investment in capital construction projects was probably, you know, one of the things we spent the most time on. Probably the most significant thing we accomplished yesterday was making a commitment to funding the aerial firefighting fleet that has been proposed now for a couple years and is in the budget. I don't think anybody expects that amendment that passed yesterday to be the last word on the subject. I think we've got some work to do in conference committee to figure out how to make that fit within the available funding that we have and other priorities that must be met. But we expressed a very clear commitment that is an important thing we should have in our budget to make our state safer, to ensure that if we must go through another season of ravaging wildfires, we are better prepared, and maybe we can prevent them ahead of time and stop them from becoming as destructive and deadly. Public safety is one of the things that I think is a core function of government, and one of the things that we spend a lot of time working on in our budget, and not necessarily always debating when we bring the bill to the floor. There has been a great deal of work in the past couple years, and particularly this year, looking at the Department of Corrections budget. There is a reform package that was actually just introduced in the House yesterday to look at how and make improvements to how we supervise offenders who are being paroled from prison, re-entering society. What can we do to ensure, one, their successful transition back to community, but also to ensure that public safety is not compromised by the way we supervise and support parolees coming back out of prison. This is just one of the many areas in the budget that the Budget Committee spends a long time working on, and when we bring the bill to the floor, often we don't spend a moment debating it because everybody's got some little amendment focused on one particular tree in the forest. When, if you take the larger view and see the complexity of all the parts, you understand that the budget is a series of compromises. It is a series of decisions that are made to balance competing priorities and balance them within available revenues. Our Constitution, in its wisdom, requires a balanced budget each year, and we have complied with that constitutional mandate. We have brought you a budget that I think serves Colorado well, reflects our priorities, our values, and hopefully will do us a good job in the 14-15 budget year. I look forward to the conference committee and talking about this a little bit more with you as we iron out just the last few wrinkles and make whatever technical changes and corrections need to be made to the bill before we can enroll it and send it downstairs. But I appreciate very much everyone's involvement this year. It's been a rather remarkable process. And again, to my colleagues, Senator Lambert, Senator Hodge, thank you very much. We've done some very good work together, and I've enjoyed working with both of you and look forward to our continued work on this budget. And with that, I renew my motion for House Bill 1336.
The question before is Senator Shuffle.
Thank you, President Carroll. Colleagues, I just want to make a brief comment regarding the budget as we have this vote on it today. I intend to vote for this today. It's interesting, more than any other piece of legislation that we do here, and we do a lot, but this is a big one. That's why we call it the long bill. And as I reflect on it, it really is certainly the biggest example of our function here at governance. And I look at this process and I think back of the many, many months and so many pieces of legislation have a process, but this one really more than any, and it starts a very, very long time ago. I was reflecting on some of the concepts, and I'm sure both sides, they begin to point toward different things that they want to see embodied in this document, and then that gets relayed to our representatives on the Joint Budget Committee, and for us, those concepts were restoration, rebuilding, and reserve, and those get communicated through our various processes to our representatives, and I'd like to applaud our member, the good senator from Colorado Springs, for taking those comments that we gave him as our caucus and being our champion for that. He didn't win all the battles, but he won a lot of them, and I saw a lot of the things that we stood for preserved in this. And with this document, it's the age-old story. There's many things one could vote against, and that could be the emphasis, and there's going to be no votes on this budget, and that will kind of carry the day with those folks, and that's okay. And there'll be others like myself that are going to vote yes for today, because of the things that are in there that we think kind of override for the moment. And it's easy to look at those. For me, I think the progress we've made on the firefighting and the fleet is huge. What a tremendous victory that represents as part of this.
Certainly the reserve concept, it's something it's been referred to, but we've been championing that for a long time. And to see it embedded in this document and the way it is a true victory. And there are other things we could chat about. Certainly there's things that I disagree with in this document, and the Medicaid expansion and the furtherance of the Affordable Care Act, and that whole concept, that's a huge third rail. And it's something that will continue to be discussed in this place, in and outside of this building, and will continue to have an effect. But for now, for today, for me, the good overrides the bad for the moment. And really most important, this is a process. This is a process, and we're not done. We'll talk about this a lot, and we all know this is going to conference committee. And so I, for one, will be watching closely as this goes through that. And so I look to the good members of the JBC and say, you know, work hard, stand your ground where appropriate, because those of us on either side of this debate and this vote are going to be watching very closely for what will happen. And there will be no's that may be turned to yeses, and there may be yeses that will be turned to no's as we go through this process. But truly one of the remarkable feats of this building is to put together a budget like this every year. It's one of our truly required tasks here. As we know, it's one of our constitutional mandates, and it is true. There was the reference to the sausage factory. Boy, this is definitely where you see the sausage factory in full force. But appreciate the hard work, and I'm going to be a no for today. I'm going to watch the process, and I'm going to be a yes for today. I'm going to watch the process, and maybe a no, So could be a Freudian slip there. No, I'm going to be a yes today. I like some of the things that are in there, but we'll look forward to the process. And again, appreciate the process. There's been so many comments on how we have conducted ourselves in this, and I agree with that. And I would applaud the majority for how they've conducted themselves with this, and frankly, the minority. We've been a good team and hung together, and the process has been good. Thank you.
Senator Hodge.
Thank you, Madam President. And I would be remiss if I didn't. First of all, I'm asking for an aye vote on this bill. I suppose that's no surprise. I will be a yes vote today. However, I just have to thank all of you who have given us messages, message sent, message received, who have told us what you did need in this budget and how you didn't all get it. I didn't get everything I wanted, but we've come a long way. And I'm so proud of the process we went through. I couldn't ask for better people to work for and with than Senator Lambert, Senator Stedman, whom I can't name by name. So anyway, thank you so much for all you have put into this, and I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Madam President. I just asked for a vote so we can go home and take a nap.
Sounds good. The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1336. Are there any no votes? Senators Marble, Renfro, Harvey, Hill, Lundberg, Brophy, Balmer, Grantham. Senator Aguilar, are you brushing your hair or are you voting no? Okay. With 26 aye votes, 8 no votes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Bill 1336 is adopted. Co-sponsors: Senators Aguilar, Nicholson, Schwartz, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Ulibarri, Jones, Kafalis, Madam President Pro Tem, Senators Newell, Todd, Johnston. Please have the President. Members, I'm going to give myself a brief moment of personal privilege out of order, but please join me in thanking our members of the JBC and yourselves for all your hard work, and their staff. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. And as long as I've got the mic just for a moment and my blood pressure's calmed down, I want to make just add to what you just said. It's been a remarkable process, and our JBC, I know they do a great job every year, but I think this one took first prize on a very, very difficult thing. So thanks to all of you. It's a remarkable process, and we can be proud of our democracy. So, Madam President, I think I'm going to make everybody happy with this motion, because I'm going to move that we lay over the balance of the calendar until Monday, April 7th.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We'll lay over the balance of the calendar until Monday, April 7th. Members of the Senate, would the members of the Senate choir please convene and come to the well? Tomorrow is Senator Aguilar's birthday, so Senator Aguilar, would you please find your way to the center aisle with your birthday hat? Yay! Would the Senate choir please wish Senator Aguilar a happy birthday?
Happy birthday, Dr. Senator.
Yes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Senator. Happy birthday to you. We need a better chord. You bet.
Lovely.
Announcements. Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I wanted to direct your attention to a letter that was placed on your desk this morning. I've extended and offer an invitation, actually a challenge to all of you to join me next week in a week of action for real prosperity across America. I'll be participating in the minimum wage challenge to highlight the challenges that folks who earn minimum wage may face here in the state of Colorado, and I'm asking you to join me in that challenge. The challenge is fairly simple and direct. All you have to do is live on a minimum wage budget for a week. And so you don't have to stop paying your mortgage payment or not pay for childcare. We're not asking you to do that. We're asking you to use just 2 line items of the budget of a minimum wage worker, specifically the food budget and the transportation budget. So for an entire week, I'm asking you to live on minimum wage. It's $49 in food budget for an entire week. I know that may be a meal for some people. That is an entire week of meals for folks who earn the minimum wage, and it's $52 for the transportation or miscellaneous budget. If you're interested in participating, I have a packet of instructions of how you can do this. I'll be buying my groceries and paying for my gas on Sunday and documenting it over the course of the week. We just passed a budget that looks to support many working families in the state of Colorado, and I think it's important that we understand the real lived implications of what it is like to live on minimum wage. Over 90% of the folks who work and earn a minimum wage, their average age is 35, and 90% of the folks who are, sorry, I said that wrong. The average age of a minimum wage worker is 35, and 90% of all folks who earn minimum wage are adults, not teenagers. So this is something that impacts many families in the state of Colorado. I'll be documenting it throughout the course of the week. If you're interested, please contact me by phone, email, or grab me at the desk. I'd love to have you join me in the challenge.
Senator Toxicology.
Thank you, Senator Ulibarri, for bringing that forward, and I do understand. But you know, I believe most of us are earning minimum wage when you look at $30,000 a year. Maybe we're higher.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam President. And just as a quick note, a full-time minimum wage worker earns $16,640 a year here in the state of Colorado, earning $8 an hour. So they actually earn less than half of what we earn as state legislators working full-time.
Senator Grantham was next.
Good morning, colleagues. Just a brief, I want to share briefly with you a tribute to a fella in Canyon City that I'm going to be presenting to him this weekend.
by the name of Nelson Moorhead. It's his 100th birthday. And just reading this very quickly, happy 100th birthday. We celebrate you and your many years of service to your country and to your fellow Canyon City neighbors as a U.S. Navy veteran and a member of the greatest generation. We honor and thank you for all you have done for our great country, especially your service during World War II in Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and the Philippines liberation. Folks, we talk about this quite often, especially Senator Heath and I quite often, about the World War II vets, and we had the opportunity earlier this year, Senator Nicholson and I, to participate in the change of the names of the twin tunnels to the Veterans Memorial Tunnels, and it's a great opportunity to be able to celebrate a 100th birthday at any time, but especially for one of our veterans from World War II who served so nobly in Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and in the Philippines. So, Nelson, happy birthday, happy 100, and hope the next 100 are just as great.
Thank you. Senator Newell, did you have, nope. Any other announcements? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, every time I stand here at the end of the week, I try to thank everybody. I think it's particularly meaningful today. This is probably the most important thing that the General Assembly does and the Senate does, is to do the budget, and I realize it's not over, but I think we did yeoman's work this week, so thanks, everybody. I'm going to move that we recess rather than adjourn. We need to read some bills over across the table here before the day is over, but you all don't need to pay attention to that. Senator Carroll, the President, and I need to just handle that later this afternoon, so don't be concerned when I say I'm going to move to recess us till 1 o'clock today. We know that then we'll adjourn after you all are long gone, and we're going to meet obviously at 10 o'clock Monday morning as usual. So with that explanation, Madam President, I move the Senate recess until 1 p.m. today, Friday, April 4th.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Senate will stand in recess, at which point you don't need to come back until 1 p.m. today.